Transit Station Neighborhood Development. That is a mouthful. That's like a lot of syllables, but we're going to call it the TSND. What is that? So the TSND is an ordinance that exists in planning in the city of Miami that allows for more density within 1 mile, a 1 mile radius of fixed rail. So last week, the Miami City Commission, and not to use a pun, but I feel like they railroaded this amendment through, and they carved out, by the way, these Neighborhood Conservation District, or NCDs. I'm pretty sure that's the acronym for it. And what's an NCD? An NCD is basically just an area where the residents are wealthy and powerful enough to carve out their neighborhoods in the name of conservation. And this is especially true in a place like Coconut Grove, where the entirety of Coconut Grove is carved out as a neighborhood conservation district. How can you carve out, you're saying in the entirety of the city of Miami, and it's fairly large, we got 400,000 residents, a nice footprint, and I'm all for conservation if it's relevant, right? We need to carve out a little pocket here, a little pocket there, but for the residents of Coral Gate to carve out their entire little area, which they carved the crap out of it, because there are only 2 entrances to Coral Gate, just south of 16th Street and just above Coral Way behind the Sears, and then the entirety of Coconut Grove. Now, I don't know about you, Peter, but you can't possibly say that this part of the Grove over here, where Flanagan's on 27th Avenue corridor is, should have the same conservation and zoning rules as Poinciana down in South Grove. It's close to a transit station. I think public transit's a big deal. We have an affordable housing crisis going on. So if we can build more, why not make it easier to build more? And by the way, let's do it in the name of workforce housing, because the TSND zoning is for workforce housing. It's not as powerful as Live Local. Live Local forces developers to allocate 40% of their proposed projects to workforce housing. This regulation, this amendment, lowers that number in half to 20%. And that would allow for developers to build up to 12 stories within 1 mile radius of fixed rail, except in these carve-out districts, which includes that corridor on 27th Avenue, which I think needs to be redeveloped. And redevelop it however you want. But to say that it's a conservation district? Come on.